Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? All right. Thank you and welcome to the kickoff for STEM Matters Month. During STEM Matters Month, employers, educators, and community organizations encourage people of all ages to learn more about the exciting opportunities in science, technology, and engineering. And these are available all around the state this month because we have an entire month to celebrate it this year. So let's solve some problems and learn and build tomorrow's workforce. So we're very excited to have Governor Brad Little here. The people of Idaho elected him to be their governor in November of 2018. Re-elected him in November of 2022. He's served as Idaho's 33rd governor since January 7th of 2019. Governor Little is an Emmett native. He was raised... Go Huskies! I also am an Emmett native who was raised on his family's sheep and cattle ranching operation. Graduated from the University of Idaho with a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness, go Vandals, and has worked in the ranching industry for his entire professional life. Governor Little has a heart for public service. He's committed to making decisions through one lens, the lens of ensuring Idaho's children and grandchildren have the best opportunities to stay in Idaho, and for the ones who have decided to leave, that we welcome them back. His time as governor has been marked by historic investments in education. It is my pleasure to introduce Governor Brad Little.
Thank you, Katie. Actually, I was going to do a STEM proclamation, but I'm just going to do an Emmett one instead. Well, thank you, and thanks, Katie. And I've been around long enough. I've just seen so much transformation in the state, and whether it's the old historical industries or it's the new ones that are being formed in this building every day, the skills that science, technology, engineering, and math are critical for each and every one of them. Superintendent Critchfield and I are very dedicated to try and foster more and more educational opportunities for the people of Idaho, and we've got a great pathway going forward right now. There's only one legislator here, and I know he's voting right, so I won't lobby him anymore. But our launch grants that are going to be available are really going to move the needle on kids in the K-12 system that now they know they're going to have a pathway to go forward. Whether it's a bachelor's degree, an advanced degree, an associate's degree, skill training in all of the trades that we need. As Debbie and I travel around, that's what we hear over and over and over, is the dire need for skilled personnel. We're right now, our raw unemployment number is 2.4%. Adjusted is 2.9%. But what we need are we need a higher participation rate, and a lot of that is women that are staying home, people that are doing daycare. That was a real problem during the pandemic. But getting STEM skills is critical. So with that, I have an official proclamation from the Office of the Governor that names Emmett the Whereas talent development for a highly skilled workforce is critical to Idaho and the nation's competitiveness, and whereas Idaho students require a strong foundation in science, technology, engineering, mathematics to succeed in Idaho's growing economy, and whereas the Idaho STEM Action Center was founded to prepare Idahoans for STEM connecting career opportunities, and whereas the Idaho STEM Action Center, the Idaho Department of Education, the State Board of Education, the Workforce Development Council, Idaho employers, higher education have partnered to establish pipelines for STEM careers. And whereas educators, employers, students, parents, and others will come together February 1st through 28th, 2023 across the state to highlight Idaho's deep passion for STEM knowledge, career awareness, and STEM integration into their educational environment as they prepare students to compete in today's technology and knowledge-based economy. Now, therefore, I, Brad Little, Governor of the state of Idaho, do hereby proclaim February 2023 to be STEM Matters Month in Idaho, and I encourage educators and leaders in government, business, technology, and science communities to continue their STEM partnership to help Idaho students better analyze, reason, and access technology and communicate solutions to the challenges of tomorrow, and to consider engagement in the Idaho STEM talent pipeline and choose STEM careers needed in Idaho. Signed, Brad Little, Governor of the state of Idaho. I'm all for STEM. My penmanship's not very good, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Governor Little. We now have a couple of our greatest STEM fans that are going to give a few words to us. So I'd like to introduce Jennifer Jackson, who is our STEM Action Center board chair. Jennifer Jackson is the K through 12 STEM program manager at Idaho National Laboratory. She has nearly 20 years of experience as a teacher and educational leader in Idaho, including as the Director of Curriculum and Professional Learning for Idaho Falls School District 91. INL's K through 12 STEM program focuses on student outreach, teacher professional development, family engagement, and more. In her role, Jennifer also interfaces with Idaho tribes, community colleges, and technical schools on behalf of INL. These partnerships with STEM-focused organizations allow INL to help Eastern Idaho foster an integrated STEM program that will enable the best possible opportunities for Idaho students. Jennifer also currently serves as our board chair on the Idaho STEM Action Center. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Katie. I am so honored to work with you, and I'm so honored to be part of this STEM Matters kickoff event and to stand alongside business and industry partners and other STEM supporters and champions. I'm especially grateful to Governor Little, who has always been a champion of STEM education and is now officially putting the spotlight on STEM in Idaho for an entire month. I'm Jennifer Jackson. I'm very proud to serve as the board chair for the STEM Action Center and to share a few words about why STEM matters. In my day job, I'm fortunate enough to be Idaho National Laboratory's K-12 Education Program Manager. Idaho National Laboratory is one of 17 U.S. Department of Energy national laboratories and one of Idaho's largest employers with a workforce of over 5,300 people. As one of the nation's preeminent science and technology centers, we work to change the world's energy future and secure our nation's critical infrastructure. So you could safely say, we know STEM, and STEM is our business. Every job at INL is a STEM job. Of course, we have a lot of traditional STEM jobs like researchers and engineers. But we have even more STEM-adjacent jobs, such as technicians and operators, and jobs in trades and crafts, and manufacturing. And don't forget about all those STEM support jobs in business and support. Each role is essential to achieving our mission, and we are all creative problem solvers and use STEM skills every single day. And here's why STEM really matters. INL conducts world-class research, but to continue making scientific breakthroughs, we need to prepare a STEM workforce for the future. Our partners all over the state also need a STEM-prepared workforce. Idaho's economy depends on a STEM-prepared workforce. STEM education is an essential early workforce development strategy for Idaho. That means building a STEM identity in students early. We're talking 3, 4, 5 years old, so that they can see themselves as scientists and engineers, as well as technicians and carpenters. When younger students engage in real-world problem solving, and we create a variety of STEM education and career pathways or pipelines, we help them develop and refine their STEM identity and prepare them to enter this workforce of tomorrow. We also need to recognize that not all education happens in the classroom. In addition to schools, we rely on and must invest in and partner with informal educators like daycares, museums, zoos, and after-school clubs and programs to curate the kinds of experiences that help students engage with STEM topics, build their STEM identities, and prepare for their future STEM careers. And building a STEM identity in all students also means leveling the playing field for underrepresented populations and underserved communities. At INL, over 50% of all of our programs and initiatives in education are designed to specifically engage with underrepresented populations, thus increasing access and equity to STEM learning for those students who need it most. We focus on access and equity to STEM learning in 4 underrepresented student populations: female, ethnic racial minorities, economically disadvantaged, and rural and remote students. And I want to put a spotlight on rural Idaho again. Idaho is geographically very large. And I know it's hard to remember when you're right here in beautiful and busy downtown Boise, but a whopping 88% of Idaho is rural. And many of those rural communities are also quite remote and isolated. I have a pretty good understanding of rural because I grew up in a small Idaho town with a population of 465 people. And I know the education needs for those communities are very different than urban communities. Providing equitable access to STEM learning opportunities to these rural and remote communities presents unique challenges. But through the work of the Idaho STEM Action Center, these communities can be part of a greater network through regional hubs participating in the Idaho STEM ecosystem. As part of the STEM ecosystem, business and industry, informal educators, and STEM leaders from every part of the state are forming strategic partnerships and leveraging resources for greater impact and are creating a menu of programs, initiatives, and tools tailored to their region. The trick is to capitalize on the strengths of rural towns and to create meaningful education experiences. A very successful strategy in a large city might be a huge failure in a small town. One of those differences to capitalize on are the economic drivers for those rural communities, such as agriculture, mining, tourism, or many others. The best approach to rural STEM learning is place-based learning, so the students can experience STEM in their own environments with familiar topics and issues. Real-world problem solving looks a lot different in a rural community than in an urban setting. We also need to recognize the critical part that career technical education plays in preparing a future workforce, especially for our underrepresented students. We should think of career technical education as applied STEM. I regularly visit CTE classrooms and meet with CTE teachers, and I see how they incorporate STEM into their classes every single day. Idaho needs CTE because we need a skilled workforce in trades and crafts to meet future demands. INL needs a lot, so we need to get going here. And we need to understand that CTE is a good option. Students need to understand that it is leading them to high demand, high paying jobs and fulfilling careers in Idaho and in their own communities. STEM Matters Month is a celebration of all of these ideas and an opportunity to level up our STEM efforts in Idaho. As the chair of the STEM Action Center board, I am proud to kick off STEM Matters Month and to join our elected officials, industry partners, community institutions, and schools in celebrating our Idaho students and their bright future. I encourage you all to get involved, volunteer, become a mentor, invest time and resources, open a dialogue with local educators to bridge the gaps between K-12 education, higher education, and employment. Hire a teacher extern, become a STEM champion, and together we'll take STEM in Idaho to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I just want to point out really quick off script for a second that we're hoping to have 25 of our teacher externs come from the trades this year. So I think that that's a really exciting opportunity for any of you that may be employers out there to host an educator in the workplace over the course of 6 weeks this summer. So Denny's telling me not to read the intro. So I actually have the pleasure of knowing Denny because I just came from the Workforce Development Council, and I can say that she is currently acting as the board chair for the Idaho Workforce Development Council. I will also say that she is an incredible advocate for workforce across the state of Idaho. And one of the reasons that I have her here today is because I heard her give a wonderful speech at the Career Technical Education summer conference. And I am just so proud to know her, and we should all be proud to have her as the chair for the Workforce Development Council. There, Denny, I didn't read it.
Okay, I feel like, you know, when someone says, oh, she's going to tell this joke and it's going to be so funny, and then it never lives up to your expectations. Oh, Denny's a great speaker. Yeah, now I'm not going to live up to your expectations. But I am very excited to be here, and thank you for the kind words. It is my pleasure, really, to serve on the Workforce Development Council. I have been there for 4 or 5 years, and have been the chair for a couple of years. Thank you, Governor Little, for appointing me to that, because it really is a passion of mine. I am in the human resources profession. So finding jobs for people has been my career, and being able to work so broadly to help people prepare for jobs and find jobs is very meaningful to me. I love this word, STEM matters, and I just want to take a minute to turn that back and make it very personal, to say all of you literally matter a lot, because you have a lot of things you can do with your talents and your time, and you are devoting it to something that is absolutely critical to the success of our fellow citizens and absolutely critical to the success of our really wonderful state of Idaho. I want to just tell you a little bit. So Denny, as she grew up, had a lot of aptitude for what I think is called language arts. I called it reading and writing. I could do that. But when I had to go into a math class or a biology class or you know, oh God, that calculus class I had to take in college, it was huge anxiety and worry. And I got B's. And I told myself I was bad at math. And I told myself I was bad at science. I'd bring home that B just defeated. But there were educators. I remember my algebra teacher, my geometry teacher, maybe not so much that college calculus teacher, maybe not him. But there were others who helped me and made me feel like I could do this. I could do this. And there are others that have been in my career. Like, for example, I worked for an organization where the first thing I had to do was literally learn 10 new software systems and then learn how to do some incredibly challenging calculations and manipulations in Excel. I had knots in my stomach, and there were people like you who could translate this for people like me and make me realize I can do STEM. I can do this. It's possible. So you matter a whole lot to people who like STEM and people who are scared of STEM. You matter every day. So thank you. You might be wondering, what the heck is this Workforce Development Council? Lately, thanks to Governor Little's broad spotlight on the work that we do as we're trying to fulfill his vision of creating really educated, skilled workers and great careers and great family lives for those people. You've heard maybe a little bit more about us, but generally I would like to share with you that we are a council themselves made up of 37 Idaho citizens. 17 of us represent employers, like me. I represent an employer, but we also have the critical state agencies that contribute to workforce development. We have legislators, we have labor unions, speaking of the trades, and we have educators as well, like CTE and community colleges and that sort of thing. And we are a very broad-based organization, and that builds the way we work in collaborations and building partnerships with other people. It's not just us setting a stage and individually picking it as we go. It's very broad. We do three major things. One is we increase the efficiency and effectiveness of funding that is being channeled into any workforce development. We do that, one, as I tell Wendy, because I'm cheap. And every time anybody comes and says, let's spend some money on this, Wendy knows I'm going to say, how do we know it'll work? Is that do we have to spend all of that? Could we just find a way? Are we doing the right thing with this money? This is my taxpayer money. I don't want to tell my neighbors we wasted it. So we are very efficient and effective with our money. We study it and make sure that where we put it works. And like, for example, with the launch program, we know that works. And so we can feel good about saying, put that public funds into the hands of Idaho citizens to make their choices about their careers. Second of all, we strategize. We have a very unique position in Idaho as government and as a council to be charged with seeing the big picture. What's going on in the economy? What's going on with the labor market? What's going on with education? And figure out and predict the big trends that are coming up, that we can think of how do all of us need to collaborate together to create a great workforce for Idaho and to create a great experience and livelihoods for the people in the workforce. And finally, we fund. We have a very small staff led by Wendy Sechrist. Wendy, see your hand? The powerful staff, and they work through partnerships with other agencies, sometimes like the STEM Action Center. And other organizations all across the state. We grab what the best practices were, we learn our lessons from it, we make sure others can replicate good programs, good practices, and continue the good work. So that's what we're about. So the STEM Action Center, if we had to lose Katie from the Workforce Development Council, I can't think of a place I would want her to be other than here, because every job is a STEM job. And the 37 members of the council constantly talk about that every time we're together, is what can we also be doing and thinking about STEM. For example, I am in the retail grocery industry. Do you know that the cart clerk operates a robot? The manager of a grocery store probably uses 5 different pieces of software just to get the beans on the shelf right. The department back there that is planning where to put everything is using geometry constantly to figure out how many Jell-O boxes can really fit if we also add some cake in there. It's all about geometry. The phrase was, here, I heard the phrase here like, that Jennifer said, place-based learning. If you want to teach your kids STEM, go to the grocery store, okay? It's right there in front of them every day. So we really appreciate everything that the STEM Action Center does, and one of the things we're excited about, of course, is the Teacher Extern program. What a fabulous link. I've been part of that program. We had a teacher extern at our company last summer, and it was amazing. We're going to work on maybe getting a couple this year. But how many of you are educators or teachers? All right, retired, okay. A few of you, okay. But how many of you know a teacher? Okay. Activate that network, would you? And tell them about this. One, it's a wonderful experience for them. You know, the whole idea about this is to help an Idaho educator understand how the skills they're teaching their students really get applied in the real world. So they can answer the question, why am I learning this? Why will this matter? I will never do fractions ever in my life. Well, you can by working with an employer, you can show them this is how you can apply it. You can give them this vision of here's the career you could have, you know, that sort of thing. So we have had outstanding experiences with our teacher externs where they come away energized themselves, you know, and hey, they got paid for, you know, a little extra work in the summer. They got to learn themselves about something new that they didn't know was going on in a business or industry in their area, you know, and the employers also get to really have an appreciation for the skill, the professionalism, the abilities of the teachers that participate with their company. So I really hope that this year's Teacher Extern program is just a huge success, because every job is a STEM job, and we want to make sure everybody sees that. That is my comments for today. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having STEM Matters Month, and we are looking forward to a long relationship with you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Denny. You're welcome. And I would just say, you know, Denny made me think about the magic. That's the magic of the long game workforce development. And that's the action that the STEM Action Center is all about, is that long game, looking all the way down into the kindergarten, looking below kindergarten and thinking, okay, how do we spark excitement about the world of work for them tomorrow? All right, we have one more wonderful speaker, and we're so grateful for this space and this opportunity to be able to celebrate STEM Matters Month. Tam is dedicated to seeing business in and around Idaho thrive. As a business leader with nearly 2 decades of progressive experience in a variety of industry, he has demonstrated expertise in positioning companies for success. He spent a large part of his career working his way up the ranks, a PKG user interface solutions before joining Vacasa. He spent over 2 years there working his way up to senior integration program manager before accepting the role of executive director for Trailhead Boise. Here he oversees all the inner workings of the organization that serves the region's entrepreneurial system. Along with this, he has served as the co-chair of Boise Entrepreneur Week for almost 4 years. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi guys. Thank you for having me and allowing me to address you today. And I want to give a special shout out to the STEM Action Center for hosting this event here. So the honor is all ours to have you here. You are a long-standing partner of ours, and some of what I'm about to cover will shed some light on that. First and foremost, my name is Tim Rastegar, CEO and Executive Director here at Trailhead, and I would be a fool if I did not tell you about Trailhead while having you find people in our space. So here's what I'll do. I'll tell you a little bit about Trailhead to set some context. Then I'll share with you why we care about STEM, why STEM matters to us. And then I'm going to use this opportunity to bring some of these STEM stories to life for you. and leave it to me. I did present a deck because I'm not good at writing speeches, and they should have skipped my intro as well. This goes without saying. While I get to stand up here and tell you about Trailhead, we would not be able to do any of our work without our amazing staff, who helped, again, after a long night event last night, today with this event. So if you could just briefly give a round of applause for my staff. That said, let's get right into it. So our vision at Trailhead is to democratize access to entrepreneurship. And we are on a relentless mission to help entrepreneurs succeed. We do that through several different ways, one of which you're experiencing right now. You're in our inclusive and collaborative co-working space. But space is just a commodity on its own. So we wrap additional services around it, like our educational programming, like our mentorship program, and what we call community building, which is also known as ecosystem building. So that is what we do, and that is the mission that we pursue. That said, our work really crystallizes through programs. That's how we reach people. We have various programs. Most of them are for adults, but yes, you guessed it, we do a lot with youth, both at the high school and at the collegiate level. We're probably best known for Boise Entrepreneur Week, which is Idaho's largest entrepreneurial event, which I have the honor of chairing. When we deliver our programs, we get to help a lot of businesses. Notably, this list of businesses is intentionally exhaustive, and it's in tiny font, so you can't read it. My point is, I'm trying to tell you, we work with a lot of businesses. This list does not include those who we have helped in 2022. We're working on that right now for our annual report. So when we deliver our programs and we help these businesses, we get to achieve some metrics. We get to create jobs. Those businesses get to generate revenue. They raise capital. And we also have the opportunity to award them with non-dilutive cash. So we are making an economic impact right here in Idaho. But we don't do this work on our own. There's an ecosystem of partners such as the STEM Action Center, such as INL, such as Boise State. I could go on and on. You see this wheel. You also find government, private industry partners, and other actors and factors that are active in this entrepreneurial ecosystem. So when you take a higher level look at this map of actors and factors, here's what you'll see. I didn't come up with this. I'm not going to take credit. Brad Feltz, who is the founder of Techstars and also largely can be credited for the tech startup ecosystem in Boulder, Colorado, came up with this thesis. And he said, entrepreneurs need access to 7 sources of capital. Not just monetary capital, that's definitely one of them, which is right here, financial capital. They also need institutional capital, somewhat represented by Trailhead and our partners. They also need physical capital, and here are the 2 that matter most in the context of STEM. They need human capital, which is talent, which are the people that we hire to help us build these ventures. And they need intellectual capital. Again, that intellectual capital typically comes from human capital, who then gets to work at labs or universities right here in Idaho. So the thesis is, take an entrepreneur, whether it's a scale-up, a high-growth tech company, or a startup, a brick-and-mortar, small, medium-sized business, put them in the center and smother them with these sources of capital. So again, it's really important that we as a community and as a state invest in the intellectual capital and the human capital, because without those 2 sources of capital, the other ones will not be effective. So much for context setting. So here's what success looks like when you take STEM and you onboard it onto the vessel of entrepreneurship. This is a picture of Entrepreneur Week. We got to give away over $300,000 in non-dilutive cash. But where does this start? How do people end up on the stage getting these obnoxiously big checks? Not just in dollar amount, but also in size. Try to take one of those to your bank and cash it. Good luck. Well, it starts here. We actually do invest a lot in youth at Entrepreneur Week. What you see here are students that participate through various competitions put on by the Boise State Venture College, such as the Cyber Challenge or the Hacking for Home Building Challenge. Also a challenge by UFI called Life's a Pitch. I personally like that title. That's kind of cool. But it's all about planting seeds of entrepreneurship, and we can do that through STEM. The STEM Action Center is a supporter of Trailhead and Boise Entrepreneur Week. I'm going to keep repeating that because I want you to leave knowing that back to that ecosystem wheel, there are partners in this community that work together. One of our other programs is called You Lead Idaho. It is a program specifically designed for rural high school kids in Idaho. And through technology, we are able to put them through a course that they then earn dual credit for. And they get to have a final pitch, kind of like Shark Tank, and win scholarship money to help them go on to college. And who better to tell you about it than the kids themselves?
We came up with the idea of in or outs when we were brainstorming, right? So we had a bunch of different ideas. One of the girls, they mentioned a recent volleyball game they had played in and how it was kind of ruined by a bad call.
We lost our volleyball game that would lead us to the championship game for just a simple call, in or out. And it was devastating, so we wanted to fix volleyball call lines, you know?
We came up with this idea where there's 4 beacons at the corners and wires embedded in the volleyball. Those beacons would track the wires in the ball, send it to a computer, and it would tell if it was in or out every time it hit the ground. That way we'd always know if it was in or out and it solved the problem.
You Lead Idaho is an educational program that engages rural high school students. The students go through a 4-month experience where they complete a college dual credit course through the IDLA program, and then they compete in a pitch competition to win scholarship money.
I think the biggest impact of this program is that it's geared towards rural schools in Idaho, which is really important. Giving this opportunity to rural students can really give them a leg up and show them that they are just as important as our students in urban communities.
Small town kids don't always have opportunities that kids in a bigger city do, and by asking them to grow and making them a little bit uncomfortable creates the opportunity for them to say, I did this, now I can go to college and have confidence in that.
This program really is an accelerant. It gives kids opportunities to start working in the real world. It's more than just a high school class, right? It's more than just a program. This is an opportunity for them to truly build the skills that they need for the future.
What's also great about a program like this is the collaboration amongst companies and organizations like Trailhead. It's really inspiring to see the entrepreneurial community coming together to support our next generation.
So going through IDLA and this program, the first key building block was innovation, being creative on coming up with idea. The other building blocks we learned on the way were pitching, networking, communicating, marketing, and finance.
The kids made the decisions, the kids fueled the fire. I was here to support and facilitate. They were the ones that wanted to do the work. When they presented to the judges, that passion was there.
They're creative, they're witty, they're funny. They did a phenomenal job.
Shoshone High School won the You Lead Idaho program pitch competition, and they won $10,000 for their scholarships and for their school. Then they went on to compete in the Boise State University Venture College High School Idaho Entrepreneur Challenge, where they ended up taking first place.
We had a big assembly, and I thought, we won, didn't we? And so when they started listing off the ranking, it was just so emotional, like I couldn't even describe the feeling. We were just very proud of ourselves because we didn't really think we stood a chance.
Biggest reward of being part of You Lead Idaho and just the whole experience was, I mean, there's always the money, right? There's always a prize. I also think it's the things you learn and the opportunities you try.
You Lead Idaho is important because it gave me the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone. I never pictured myself going into any entrepreneurial courses or anything, and I learned new skills that I didn't know I had and new interests, and now I can see like a future with this. You Lead Idaho gave me that opportunity.
So don't take it from me, why STEM matters. Take it from these young, talented people. We are really grateful for the partnership that allows us to even do a program like IDLA. And Sharon is here in the crowd. She actually goes way back. She helped us launch the program with Faisal Shah, who is also here, who also helped launch the program. The all-time impact really goes down to the dual credit that they earned and the monies, as well as the relationships that they've built with people right here in Boise and Greater Idaho, including mentors. And there's more. We then decided to dedicate an entire track at Boise Entrepreneur Week to youth. We take it a step further. This last year in October, we hosted almost 480 students from across Idaho. We bring them in, and we put them through a half-day curriculum with the help of the IDLA, One Stone, and several other stakeholders. And we teach them the tools of entrepreneurship. We want them to take the fields of STEM and apply them as entrepreneurs to help them commercialize ideas into real businesses. This is a picture of all those students sitting in right over there at Jump, listening to the previous year's winner, Adam Stock, who taught them about pitching a business. So once they go through this curriculum at Entrepreneur Week, they then go back to their schools, and we source problem statements from our community partners. Local businesses, local leaders provide a problem statement. Those students have just gone through this curriculum in 4 hours. They go back to their school, they pick one of these problems, and they record themselves delivering a solution to said problem. And so you can read the bullets and kind of get a sense for the scope and the impact of this. Overall, we've given away over $28,000 in the last 4 years doing the Youth Innovation Challenge. And again, the Idaho STEM Action Center is a crucial partner in us being able to have this program at Boise Entrepreneur Week. Here are the winners from this year's Youth Innovation Challenge. It's 3 young ladies from Boise High School. And again, don't take my word for it. I am very excited to present this final pitch to you. Oh.
Hi.
I will say, St. Luke's provided a problem statement. Their problem statement was as follows. How do we attract more nurses, and how do we retain the nurses that we already have on staff? That's all the context you need.
I'm Ruthie Doga. I'm Denali Arellano. And I'm Alondra Arroyo. We're students from Boise High School. St. Luke's presented us with an issue within our community that we will solve for our Youth Innovation Challenge. The lack of frontline healthcare workers, also known as individuals who work in a healthcare delivery setting and have direct contact with patients. Why is there a shortage of nurses and doctors? How do we get future generations to join the medical field? Based on a survey conducted by Brain US Frontline of Healthcare, we can see that 89% of clinicians consider leaving the medical field due to burnout. With long, unpredictable hours, financial strain, and more, the medical field has always been challenging, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Employers must turn to innovative solutions to retain and attract the next generation of frontline healthcare workers.
We need to know about our current healthcare workers and our baby boomer generation who is getting close to retirement age, meaning they are going to need our care very soon.
After interviewing a current high schooler that's employed at St. Alphonsus, she reported that she loves helping people, and it brings joy to see changes in patients' lives because of her doing. However, entering the medical field has presented her with struggles such as burnout due to staffing. She declared that it would help if there were better coordination with the nurses in charge of staffing and overall more support. So, we brainstormed a solution to this issue. It's not entirely possible to combat all problems present in the medical field, such as loans, schooling, understaffing, and such. However, even the slightest change can make a difference. That's why we decided the best solution was to care. To connect, attract, and retain our employees with an app we designed from logo to layout. We believe we can improve the workplace environment and implement wellness programs for doctors. This way, doctors can then support and encourage aspiring doctors.
Healthcare workers are in desperate need of support. With burnout being the leading cause of resignation, it's needed more than ever. Bernadette Malek, the Chief Wellness Officer at Ohio State University, provided us with research stating that cognitive behavioral skills training can improve nurses' mental health, healthy lifestyle behaviors, and job satisfaction. So we concluded that emotional support lines can be very beneficial when retaining those in the workforce. Thankfully, the American Nurses Foundation launched the National Wellbeing Initiative for Nurses. This offers a collection of resources for nurses to heal from the trauma and build resilience due to COVID-19. They provide a variety of interventions, such as the following.
Nurses Together, connecting through conversations, hour-long peer support calls led by ENA nurses, a self-assessment tool to help nurses understand their mental health needs, hotlines and resources to connect nurses to additional support. That's why we included a feature to connect you with support groups. Access to support groups so you can be heard and connect with others in similar situations is essential. We have video chats, group chats, counseling, emotional support hotlines. You name it, we got it.
We interviewed some of our peers considering they're the next generation. After conducting our survey, the survey reported that 50% of students aren't interested in joining the medical field. Of that 50%, we decided to consider their responses as to what would convince them to join. Many stated that having benefits would encourage them. With that being said, we figured, why not have a feature that lists all the benefits? Healthcare companies could look into offering a good compensation package such as free insurance, tuition assistance, referral bonuses, increase in paid time off, maternity leave, flexible hours, store discounts like HP or Adidas. Finding incentives is key to attracting the next generation, whether it's monetary time off or even just counseling. It's crucial.
Feedback is often needed to create an engaging culture in the workplace. Seeking employee feedback should help decide what positive changes should be made and kept, and which ones should be removed. Collaborations like these can encourage loyalty and respect, so we offer a place for clinicians to connect with their healthcare companies to target improvements.
Another solution to attracting the new generation can include mentors to help aspiring doctors. Many young individuals are unsure of entering the medical field, but the addition of mentors, they can help guide these individuals and walk them through the process of entering the medical field step by step. Specifically, targeting those already studying med would help them stick it through. The AMC reports that the high cost of medical education means that 84% of students leave with $100,000 or more in debt. So, providing funding sources for this career is also beneficial in attracting employees.
Good.
Certain hospitals pay their employees to attend nursing school through tuition reimbursement programs. Certain restrictions and expectations exist with these programs, so some might be better off seeking scholarships or financial aid. However, many individuals might not be aware that these types of things exist, only steering them further away from entering the medical field. That being said, having all that information in front of you would help retain healthcare workers and have them grow in the industry, which is why we looked at including the option to identify which locations have these types of programs and have a space to connect with mentors to encourage them.
Whenever I watch that, I ask myself, what was I doing in high school? Definitely not that. So to close this up, I really wanted to take this opportunity to bring to life what STEM really means to Trailhead. It's about planting seeds. These are our future entrepreneurs who will help us build businesses right here in Idaho. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. That was incredible. Those projects are incredible. I was just playing basketball when I was in high school. My knees are paying for it now. That being said, there's something that each and every one of us can do in this room to make sure that we do make STEM matter this month. Each and every one of us has connection to career, right? And a lot of times, the only careers that students know about are what their parents do or their grandparents do. STEM Action Center can provide a conduit for those who have no idea how to interact with those who are currently in the classroom. So I encourage you to reach out to us if you're curious. We're actually working on creating a whole professional development series that will be talking about how to make those inner classroom connections for employers. So thank you so much for joining us today. I want to give a special thanks to Trailhead for having us here. I want to thank Idaho Public Television and our other media partners for being here. All of our elected officials, thank you, Governor Little, for being here today. Our board and our partners, and our first robotics student team, and all of us who are parents, students, teachers. There's a lot of work to be done, and we can do it together. So on that point, I think we've got a few snacks and some drinks, and we just thank you for being here with us today.